Hello writers. In this video I'm going to share something really neat with you that's going to improve the quality of the young author stories that you're writing. So a good story really has two kinds of stories happening at the same time. One of them is called the external story. Basically the external story is the action, it's what happens in the story. And typically that's the easy part of the story to write. But there's another part of the story called the internal story. The internal story are the thoughts, and this is when we show the main character's response to what's happening. And we show that response to what's happening oftentimes by sharing what that main character is thinking. So today in this video I'm going to be talking about the internal story. And I'm going to use the Rupert story I'm writing to help you understand what I mean by internal story. So let's go ahead and take a look at this sentence up here. Recoiling from the shock and grossness of the prank, Rupert winced as he flicked the peel with the tip of his pencil, landing it on the ground. Now you might say, well, that doesn't sound like a thought. But as this prank happened, Rupert did have some thoughts. And by choosing my words very carefully, I'm really sharing with the reader what Rupert thinks about the prank. The fact that I use the word gross lets you know, well, that's what Rupert thinks about this banana peel that landed on his notebook, on his sketchbook. And I said that he flicked the peel with the tip of his pencil. That sounds like a description of an action. Yes, that's true, but the careful use of the word flicked lets you know that he doesn't want to get close to the banana peel. He doesn't want to pick it up. So again, reinforcing this idea that the banana peel is gross. Okay? Now let's go ahead and look over here and look at some other language here. A smudge of banana pulp remained on the page. Now again, I don't use the word thought. I don't directly say that this is the thought that Rupert had. But the use of the word smudge, that's what Rupert thinks of this mark that was left on the page of his sketchbook. If I just used mark, you know what, it really doesn't show you how he feels about the mark or what he thinks about it. And the word smudge, you know, a smudge is something we don't like. A smudge is something that's dirty. A smudge messes something up. Okay? So I wanted to get inside Rupert's head and show you that for Rupert, who just loves his writer's notebook, he doesn't want anything to mess up his writer's notebook. So when that banana peel left a mark, in Rupert's mind, it left a smudge. Okay, let's look at some more language that helps you understand what Rupert's response is to all this and what his thoughts are. So Rupert wiped it with the sleeve of his sweatshirt, but the stain was still there. Now the smudge becomes a stain. This is what Rupert thinks of it now. And we know that stains are hard to get out, and sometimes stains are permanent. So again, it's showing Rupert's response to this banana peel messing up his notebook. And as we continue, here's a one-word sentence, ruined. This is Rupert's thought. This is what Rupert now thinks about that page in his sketchbook. Okay? It's ruined. Then I go on, I want to continue this idea of ruined. And I said the page was ruined by the way Chuck was ruining Rupert's life. As he looked at his ruined page, more thoughts come to him. And he started thinking back to Chuck, the boy who was responsible for messing up his notebook. And the way he messed up his notebook for Rupert. He kind of went a little deeper with his thinking and realized that Chuck was really also ruining his life. Okay? Then butterflies swirled in his stomach. He wanted to do something, but he remained glued to the bench. Okay? Here I'm kind of getting into a little bit of the external story. I'm showing him just sitting there on the bench wanting to do something, but he doesn't. Then I get back to the internal story here. Frustrated and angry with himself for not having the courage he needed. He noticed, he realized that he wanted to do something, but he couldn't get up, and he thought more about that. And he realized that he was getting angry, and yes, he was angry at Chuck, but he was also starting to get angry at himself because he didn't have the courage that he needed to get up from that bench. So he was getting angry. and then I shift here right back to the external part of the story, and here I show his reaction that said that he ripped the page from the spiral binding and he crumpled it into a tight ball and he flung it in the garbage. So now I got back to action. Okay, and then I want to end this scene. And I end this scene again with the internal story. I get back to what Rupert's thinking, and I wrote, Rupert wished he could rip Chuck out of his life as easily as he ripped out that page. This is what he's thinking. And he knows that dealing with Chuck is not going to be as easy for him as it was to rip out that page. So what I've kind of just shared with you here again is what we call that internal story. You want to kind of get inside the head of your main character and share what your main character is thinking and share your main character's reaction to what's happening in the story.